Well, hello and welcome back, everyone. Unfortunately, I didn't record an intro as I've been just thrashing in the shop for the last 2 weeks straight now. In this video, we need to button everything up just to get the car on the road. With that being said, there's a lot that needs to be done. I need to complete the intercooler system. Left there is a heat exchanger, the pump wiring, the controller, a few other things. I need to finish up the PWM fuel pump, make that work. I need to make the emergency brake work, figure out a version of the exhaust, wire up the E85 sensor, and put the interior back in the car enough that I have a place to sit for the test drive. As you can see, we obviously got the car on the road, so let's get into it. Okay, we got the after lunch check-in. Made a bracket for the intercooler pump, nothing too crazy. Did some miscalculation here, don't mind the rust holes. At some point I will be replacing the trunk floor. This hole worked out no problem. The other two, come to find out, there is an extra panel underneath the car that I didn't know about. So those ended up being just self-tappers, and I'm not really sure what I could do there. Let me show you. So up in that panel, right there on an edge, of course. And I figured, hey, there wouldn't be anything underneath there, and I just drilled the holes. Good thing I started with a pilot hole. Anyways, there's at least one nutsert, you know, should be enough to hold it. It's not really super heavy and doesn't have a whole lot of torque, but there's a couple bolts there. It's gonna work out just fine. So next I'm gonna drill some holes next to where that tape is. And then there's that elbow there that's gonna go to it. So that'll be the next step, and then I can start running lines. Woohoo! It's about 3 o'clock, so I've got quite a bit of progress done. But the intercooler pump is mounted. Turned out pretty good, minus the body issues, but you know, it's in there. So I went ahead and drilled for the bulkhead for that one. This is just a placeholder. I may end up putting the return on the same side. It'll probably go here and straight down because I have enough space. So this hose is gonna come this way and go over and then through. I ran out of hose, so I'm not really gonna be able to find out until Friday. So this is the 1-inch hose that I wrapped in some tubing and then electrical taped every few feet. It's gigantic, so it's gonna be a lot of flow. So once I get that hose ran, possibly I'll have my wife come out and help me put the trunk on, because once the trunk's on, I get my welding table back and I can start welding on this guy. Have the 1-inch or 1.5-inch bung that goes there. So that'll be the inlet. The 1-inch, sorry, that would be the outlet. This would be the inlet. It's either gonna go there or it's gonna go here, but if I'm wanting golf clubs in here, the heads of them go there. And there's open space there, so that's probably where it's gonna go. Thing's very securely mounted in here. Like that. Came out pretty good for what it is, which is just some angle iron and a couple pieces of flat steel. Today's Thursday, it is 12 o'clock. I don't know if I said this or not, but I thought fab work was over. Fab work is not over. We are still fabbing. So what we do have, we got the trunk on today. So now I got my fab table back so I can cut these bungs off and get back to aluminum. The one thing that I've been dreading, trying to figure out, is the emergency brake. And that's what we're doing today. That's what we're doing now. So this is a bracket that I cut off and I put on the 4-link. It used to live like literally right there is where this edge, I believe right here used to be. I think it was, or it's this one, maybe it's this one. Anyways, it's gonna live right there now. So the cables are routed kind of funny, but I figured that is probably the safest, and I put some Adele clamps on them. And then that one runs up to, you can kind of see it right there, runs over to it. What I need to do is cycle the suspension to make sure that everything's gonna clear, you know, at the highest and lowest points, but I left enough slack that I think it'll be okay, and if not, I have a little extra. So this side, I luckily put the wheel back on so I could see how close it was, and it's pretty close. So I got everything mocked up, and it looks like it's gonna clear, so if I weld this guy to the body here, I'm gonna make a closeout plate on the bottom here, so that way it's welded on this side and to the body. And then this has something to weld to besides just this little lip here. And then once that's done, you know, I think this part's done, and we can move on to fitting the heat exchanger and work on the tank. And that's what I'm doing. All right, 3 o'clock. Here's your update. So got the emergency brake plate welded in. It's in there good. put a reinforcement plate underneath, right there, all painted, all mounted up. So the cables ended up working out like this, and it actually keeps them from hitting the wheel as well. I had the other side all mocked up and it's close, but worst case scenario, I just have to put a couple cable ties or something to keep these together. But everything worked, and I put a new mount for the cable so that when it's slack, it doesn't flop around, literally next to the stock one, but now there's a subframe connector in the way. So anyways, the emergency brake is done, seems to work. I don't know if it'll hold the car, but it holds my hands, so I'm good with that. So next we're gonna start working on the heat exchanger. That bad boy there, we're gonna figure out how to put it there. Because I need to cut this support bar, but I'm not really sure where to cut it, and I can't get it in there easily because this is in the way, so out it comes. Update soon. Okay, end of the day update. I think it's like 5 o'clock. So I got the intercooler, or the heat exchanger in. You know, I did have to do some trimming. Nothing too terrible. Fits okay. But I think what I'm gonna do is cut those little tabs, because this part here is holding me up, and now the actual hinge itself is hitting on the core, which I do not want to rub a hole in. So once I cut that, I can move this back a little bit, and I think my idea is I'm just going to get some aluminum angle iron, and I'm just going to attach it to the existing vintage air bracket, because that is more than strong enough. It's made out of steel, and this thing doesn't weigh that much. It's not really going anywhere. So anyways, there's going to be attachments here, and then just go over to here. Maybe I'll drill some speed holes in it or something, since there is usable space there. And then the same on this side, and actually same on the bottom as well, because it's the exact same setup. So that should be pretty easy to hook up. I'm just trying to figure out all my spacing and stuff here. I actually had to cut this front bracket here, the actual support that goes from top to bottom. And I think what I'm gonna do is just, I'm gonna weld a rod that goes front to rear to give it some support, because it was some angle pieces on the backside. Oh, and I need to cut these 3/4 off and put these slightly larger 1-inch fittings on them. It actually fits inside there. ID is perfect for the OD. Boop. Okay, it's a new day. Today's Friday. It's 11, I think. Finally got out here. So we got some cool things happening today. Hopefully we're gonna button a few things up. Hopefully I don't have to give you any updates on a couple things after this, because they'll be done. So one of them is the pump wiring. So I bought 6 different controllers on Amazon stating that they would control PWM, and this is the only one so far that has worked as advertised. XYPWM1 is what it is. Better there. So that's cool for the CWA400. I got a fuse holder for it so I can wire it in. I had to order some more 90-degree fittings. I only ordered 3. I don't know why I was thinking I only needed 3, but I'm gonna need 1 here, 1 on the other side of this fitting. I need to do, so I figured out the routing last night. So this is the feed off the pump here, that guy. So the other one's gonna go right next to it. It's gonna go this way. It's gonna follow the frame rail like the other one does. I'm kind of running out of space to put things. I just hit my car. Running out of space to put things, so it's gonna go up along the shock bolt, the frame rail here, and go all the way down, and then follow the subframe connector till it gets to the fender well, where it's gonna go up and around the fender well. And then it's gonna snake along the bumper and do a 180. Now I know that a 180 is certainly not the best for flow, but we're talking about 1-inch lines here, and they're gonna be like gradual 90 degrees. So that'll be the routing. I think the second box of Gates line that I ordered will be here on Monday. So I'm gonna have to wait a little bit for that one. So I got some metal last night. This one's steel, because it's going to be bracing this guy here. They only had bar, so what I'll do is I'll weld that guy in there. It'll be just fine. So I bought a 8-foot piece, because that's all they had, of 2x2 by 16th angle. So this guy is gonna go here, and that should be pretty easy. I'll probably do that real quick. And then once I get the brackets done, I can get all this apart, and then I'm gonna start TIG welding and start getting back into aluminum, see how bad I can butcher this. Got a lot of that to do. So I got the 8-foot piece because I can use that on the intercooler tank as well, because I need to make feet for it. At least this side, and probably end up bending it or something because this floor is not level. As far as the other one, I mean, I suppose, you can't see that. I suppose I could cut these fittings off, which I plan to do anyways, and just put the piece there, and then it will all just bolt easily. 2 sides would probably be enough. I can't really get to the back side. I might be able to do that. It's kind of weird back there because when it was in the accident, they cut that piece, or split it at least. So I don't know how rigid that would be to bolt to, but I could do it there because it's pretty easy to get to. Okay, so that's a lot to do. It's 11. Let's get to it. Well, hello. Today's Saturday. It's 11:30. Got a bit of a late start. Went out to breakfast with my wife, which was nice. So now we're back at it. So yesterday I got the heat exchanger completely mounted, and then I took it off and welded on the bungs. Now I should preface everything and say I am not a big aluminum TIG welder. I have not done a lot of it. I don't mind it. I like the challenge, but I'm not great at it. And having said that, here's what I've done. So these were 3/4 outlets and inlets that I went ahead and closed up. I thought about drilling them out bigger to this, but this one here was on the edge, so it would have been really difficult, and that one actually kind of was too. So if I made them bigger, it would have got into the corners and it would have been really thin. I didn't want that anyways. So these are full 1-inch, drilled them out myself. Had to use a carbide burr. I have a 1-inch drill bit, but it's a step bit. So if I had drilled it, it would have went into the core. So after 3 sessions of pressure testing, I think I have all the pinholes closed. It's ugly. I know it's ugly. I don't know why I chose to start with the one thing you can see from the outside of the car first to get back into TIG welding, but whatever. It's done. So I'm going to mount this up and I'll be back with you. Hello. It's 3:30. I have not given you any updates because I've just been working like crazy, just trying to get garbage done before I need to leave for the day. So the intercooler feed from the pump to the lid is done. The lid to the heat exchanger is done. And then I have the lines now so I can run the return back to the tank from the heat exchanger, but I'm missing my 90 degrees, which will be here on Monday, so I have to wait on those. But show you what I've done. So here is the heat exchanger all mounted up. The bottom bracket is one giant piece, and the top one is separates. So these ones are kind of just to hold it, you know, at high speed, and then most of the weight's gonna be here, obviously, but she's not going nowhere. The biggest part that gave me a headache was this damn hood latch. So as you can see, I had to notch the support, but if you look back there, there's just the smallest amount of room between the heat exchanger and the hood. So I ground down the backside of that as much as I could. I pulled all of this forward. I had to space out the actual hood latch itself. Once I did that, it kicked it up. So I now have to have spacers underneath here. Those are temporary. And then I had to adjust the hood latch a bunch, but it works now. So that was, that definitely took some time, way more time than it should have. So the way that this intercooler setup's gonna work is, this made the most sense to me. So we got the tank here, feeds the pump pushes it to the actual lid. So your repository of cold fluid comes from the tank. And the way that you can do it this way is if it pumps to the lid first, then the hot water comes out of the lid, goes into the heat exchanger, gets cooled off, and then goes back in the tank. Your tank will always be, should always be, the coolest part, and then it starts the process back over again. So the only thing I'm missing is this part here. And like I said, I need 190 here, 290s there for a 180, and then that's done. So I also ran the ground, which I just added this as a secondary ground. The battery is ground right to the body in the back, but it seems to like another ground. I only had red, so, you know, everybody can flame on that if they want, but it works. It's a good Taylor cable. 2 gauge, but I had to kind of run it kind of funky. I waited until I got everything else mounted because this is secondary and it's just going to go around where everything else is. So that's done as well. So I think the next step, I got a few minutes before I got to leave. I'm going to try and just lay out I'm going to lay the hose out and just get it cut to length. Such a mess. Good morning. It's Groundhog Day. Just feels like the same thing over and over. I'm sure you probably feel the same way. It's Sunday. I have to go back to work tomorrow. I'm absolutely just beat. I'm tired. I'm done. But I have to keep working on the car because I have a event I want to go to on Sunday. So I have exactly 1 week to get the car done. Currently, that shouldn't be a problem. Almost dropped the phone. Gonna replace the belt today. That will get done. Yesterday, I laid out the return to the tank for the intercooler and then covered it in sheathing and taped it up. So all I have to do is mount that underneath the car in about the position it will go. Once I get the 90s, I can put it all together. So I'm gonna run the wiring for the pump. A couple wires there. I'm gonna run it to the battery and not off a relay, only because I've seen online where people they run it straight to the battery and then the controller inside actually turns it off, puts it in sleep mode, and it's like 0.2 milliamps an hour, so it's, not very much. And then I'm gonna work on the brackets for the intercooler tank. So I'm gonna put one bracket on this side, and then my bandsaw blade broke. It'll be a new one will be here tomorrow, but I'm thinking another bracket on this side at the bottom. And that should hold the whole thing. I don't really think it needs 3 brackets. I mean, if I get it screwed down on this edge, that's going to support most of it. And, barring a rollover, there will be intercooler water everywhere. I don't really think it's going to be a problem. So we'll go from there, and I'll update you. All right, cool. So just a quick update video. After I recorded that last one, I said, let's try a common ground and see if this controller still works. And sure enough, all you need is one wire going to this pump. So that's magical. So we just got the power going to the controller, and then the single red and green, is that what that is, I believe? Going to the pump. Nice and easy. Here's an update. So it is 1 o'clock. The entire time I have been working on the wiring harness for the intercooler pump. Took forever, but it's clean, it's wrapped. I hate that my grounds all have to go into the battery box. So I actually have them run to a central ground that goes through and is grounded on the other side, and that's where that red wire is. But it works, whatever. And then we got this guy here, which is labeled. And then it goes PWM wire over there. It's all routed together with the taillights and such. And then it all comes down around, plugs in there. So that's great. So I'm probably gonna move on to mounting the hose underneath the car because that sounds like fun. All right, we got another task completed. So I ran the front to rear coolant line for the intercooler. The port there is just waiting on the 90, like I said 1,000 times. It's run up along the frame rail. I was able to reuse that nut cert. Couldn't reuse that one, it's just too tight right there. So we zip tied it. And down here, it gets a little more complicated. So trying to keep it out of the emergency brake line. Probably throw a zip tie right there. I split the extra piece that I had and put it on there. It does touch a little bit when the emergency brake is on, but when it's off, there's enough slack that it doesn't seem like it's gonna touch. This is on, obviously. So, it's fine. I Adele clamped it to the seat bolt. And a bunch of ugly zip ties. And then run up in the fender well. Bit of a hard turn, but I tried to leave as much slack as I could. And then it uses another Adele clamp onto that nut cert and that one as well. And then it comes up, gets attached to these awesome, I don't know if anyone's watching this that's going to be building a car, but if you have the opportunity to weld yourself some bolts underneath your fender well, you will use those things more than you think. So anyways, I attached to all of that, and then it comes down, goes around, just like I said it would. And it goes up underneath here. And I left plenty of extra just in case, so I'm gonna have to cut that off. And we'll have the 290s to there. And then that part is done. I'm gonna work on the belt now. Wish me luck. That's gonna be a tight squeeze. Okay, some time has passed. I don't know how much time. It's 2:15. So I went to change the belt, which I thought would be pretty tough. It was kind of a pain because, like I said before, this tensioner rotates up so high that I had to take one of the hoses off just for the steam vent, but whatever. Got the belt off, no problem. Pulled everything out. Went to put the new belt on, the green belt, and some jackwagon had swapped the size that I need with the size that he didn't need, apparently. I needed a 970 belt, and there was a 960 in the box, in the sleeve, whatever. So that's really annoying, but I ordered one. It'll be here tomorrow. So I shifted gears, and I am working on the flyback diode for the PWM fuel pump. And this is what I came up with. So I added, you know what, let's go over here. I added a wire off of the positive side of the pump, and it needs to tie back to the ground, which I didn't make the ground with an extra leg off of it. So this is just tying off the red wire. And then here's my ground, which is a 10 gauge, if you can believe it. So I didn't have an extra wire come off of here like I did with the pump side, the positive side. And then my other ground wire is here. So I said, well, since I have spade terminals on it, I can just make this piece, which will go here to there. And then the other ground on the other side. And then this just has a butt connector that I will butt connect to that guy. So then we are tying back to the positive with the negative. And then, because it's a fuse holder, I just put the diode in there. And it actually tested it and it works fine. So we close that guy up and then it stays in there. And you can replace it if you ever need to, which you shouldn't ever need to. But it was just an easy way to mount it. Time for your update. So the tank wiring is completely done. So we got the diode in there, we got the ground set up, we got the fuel level sender, everything's separated, wired with what it should be wired with, zip tied out of the way. That's the ground. Power wire is attached to the end of the tank, so it doesn't touch anything, so that looks fine. And then I tightened up all of the suspension so that when I actually put it on the ground, it will work. And then I fixed the brake lines as well, so they're not hitting on anything. Everything's tight. Everything's ready to rock. So the couple things I have left are the exhaust. That's a big one. And the intercooler tank. So the intercooler tank had two fittings on it. And don't judge my dirty sink, but there they are. There's my closeout welds. Not gorgeous, not ugly. Well, they're a little ugly, but I think they'll work. We'll see. Once it cools off, I'll put some water in it overnight and see if it holds. Well, hello again. It's 4 o'clock on a Monday. So I worked all week last week trying to get as much done as I could and got a lot done, but we're not totally done. So today, Amazon delivered a few things that I needed. One of which is my damn bandsaw blade. Broke my last one, so I couldn't cut the aluminum here so I can make the mount for the tank. So now I can do that. The other thing that got delivered was the correct belt, which, as I said, was a 970, not a 960, which is what ended up here last time. And I got the right size hose clamps for the intercooler tank. So UPS is bringing my 90s, so I can put those in tonight. And then I'm gonna put the belt in now. And then once that's done, I'll put the intake stuff back on. And then once this is done, I'll put the 90 in the back, and then we can fire up the intercooler for the first time with some water in it, assuming I can get the mounts done. And then we will be just buttoning small things up and then able to drive it hopefully by Thursday. So fingers crossed, we will see. Well, hello. Today is Tuesday. It's 5:30. I've been out here for about an hour. I've just been cleaning. It's been pretty fast-paced around here, so I haven't been cleaning very much. So took this opportunity to get it clean because I have some visitors, and they don't want to sit in all the metal shavings and stuff. So I got the floor looking spick and span. much better than it did. No tools everywhere. And now I can work on the intercooler tank. So finally got that finished welded. I'm not gonna get real close to it because the welds are ugly, but there it is. It holds water, doesn't leak. So I'm gonna put that in and then get the lines in and then do the pump thing and see how it all works. And I will check back in. Okay, welcome back. It is 7 o'clock. I have been working on the intercooler lines this entire time. So I got everything set up the way I want. It's all like temporarily wired right now. I've got Logan in there adjusting it for me. Hello. So right now it's at 25%. Go ahead.
Okay. 35%. 35%.
55.
Yeah.
Keep going. 65. Keep going. 75. Keep going. There's 80. She's ripping. Awesome. Hello. Today is Wednesday. The time is 7 o'clock. Bit of a late start. Probably gonna pull at least a 3-hour session out here just trying to get stuff squared away. So what we have left, we need to do the exhaust of some sort. Probably just gonna do turn downs. Luckily, I have this over axle that I had cobbled together to make work from when I bought the car, if you can believe that. It was V-banded, which was cool, but it was like straight pipes straight out the back of the car, and I wanted something in the stock location. So I made it work, but with the 4-link, it's just not gonna fit. So what I'm doing, I put a band clamp on here so I can get a straight line. I'm just dropping things. And I'm just gonna cut it right here, and I'm gonna rotate it down, and it's just gonna be a dump. So that's gonna be really easy on both sides. No welding necessary, which is sweet. The next step after that would be the back seat. So there's a guy on YouTube called Epic Tim. He did a mini tub in his 4-door Nova, and he went over the best use of the back seat to get it to fit. So the upper part actually needs to be modified. The bottom part, he said, should fit. So I'm gonna test fit all that stuff and see if I can get it to work. Once that's complete, or maybe before that, I need to make an E85 sensor harness. With the interior route, this is gonna be really easy to route, so I just need to make the harness. I don't have these wire colors, so I'm gonna have to like label it, but I can make something work. Other than that, I need to bleed the brakes, and then really, I just need to put the interior back in. Those are the things that I have on the list, and then, you know, some general cleanup and final installations. So, get into it. Okay, so as anticipated, that didn't take very long. I just cut both the pipes, and honestly, that's pretty sick. That came out great. Boom. That's gonna be kind of loud and kind of boomy, but it's a hell of a lot easier than cutting all those over axles like 14 times and welding them up and hoping they fit when I'm done. Plus, at some point, I want to go 3-inch exhaust anyway, so this might just be perfect for now. I still have the cutouts, which I don't have hooked up yet, but I might hook those up depending how loud this is. Might not need it. Okay, so here's an update. I don't know, it's like 10 o'clock at night. Got the flex sensor working, finally. So showing 11, which is great. Did not realize I had to have like a pull-up resistor and a bunch of other crap, but luckily Holley gives you most of the stuff that you need. You just gotta know what to do. So that's working, so I can move on to something else. Okay, midnight, Wednesday, so it's almost Thursday, I guess. Quick update. So yes, I got the flex fuel sensor working. I buttoned everything up. The wiring on this car is just, I mean, it's all over the place. I need to take everything out, redo it, and put it back. But for right now, everything's working. So the other thing that I got done was the intercooler pump wiring. So the good news is on key on, so that's perfect. And I don't use this cigarette dish. I don't even know what these things are called anymore. Ashtray. Jesus, I'm sorry, it's late. I don't use the ashtray anymore, so I can basically just close that up and leave it, and the pump's still running. Cool. Okay, it's 2 in the morning. It's officially Thursday. I'm done, and this is what I've accomplished. So I got the exhaust cutouts wired. I had to split the key on for my fuel pump relay because I only had one key on back here, and I need another one for that relay. So I made a little Y connector. It's not the most beautiful thing. It actually turned out good, but I'm not really proud of making those, but it is what it is. So at this point, everything is working, which is awesome. So we get 2 pumps at key on. And then one shuts off, and we still got all of this, which is great. And everything just working as it should. So at this point, I need to fix the seat back upper portion. I need to put the carpet back in, put the seats back in, put the console back in, the speakers, stereo. Kind of optional stereo stuff, but it's a pain to do because you have to take the seat out to do it. So I'm just gonna do it tomorrow, today, whatever. And then put it down on the ground because other than bleeding the rear brakes, which shouldn't take more than a couple minutes, I can't think of anything else that really needs to be done to get this thing driving, to really get it down and just take it out for a quick test drive and then see what's what. Okay, I am frazzled. Off I go. It's Thursday afternoon. It's currently like 4:30. So I've been out here for a little while, just buttoning things up. Some small things, nothing too exciting. You know, I had these cables here to run. So this is the washer fluid. This is the clutch bleeder. I covered the clutch bleeder because it was scratching the paint, which, you know, is that important right now? Probably not, but it was bugging me. So anyways, that's fixed. I had to run a boost reference line, which is this guy here. It's kind of run. I left it long just in case. But I tied off of this front port here, put a T on it, a Y technically. So under hood is done. There's nothing else to do under hood except to close the hood and stop looking at it in an attempt to move on. So the next step, we are going to put in the carpet and the front seats, and I'm going to drive and put some gas in it. So I need to clean everything up. I need to get vacuumed. I need to move all the wires out of the way. And then when I get back, I will work on the back seat, the upper seat back, and putting in the stereo, I guess, which is kind of whatever at this point. But that's what I'm doing. Check back in with you when the carpet's done. It's like 7:30 on a Friday. I'm not in the shop right now, which is great. I have a few issues, which is not great, but you know, there's always going to be something. I rebuilt almost everything on the car. So right now I don't have turn signals or brake lights. Probably an easy fix, just don't have the time to look at it. But I have at least got the car out of the shop. With those dumps. Stuff to check, but she's running, she's driving. I'm gonna go take it around the block. Okay, we are driving. First drive. I'm hearing differential whine. I probably don't have the pinion angle right. I set it at 0. Wasn't sure what it wanted. I know it's supposed to be opposites, but the transmission was 0, the differential was 0, so I said, okay, I'll just leave it. Car seems to be running fine. It's got a little bit of a stumble at tip end, which is apparently common with these LSAs. But otherwise, everything seems to be okay. It's a little bouncy. Feels good to drive it. Nuts in the back that are loose. That's how it is. We've got a side of the road check-in, just looking everything over. Everything looks okay. I'm seeing a little bit of steam, but I'm sure this thing's burning off. As of right now, it looks good. The fuel pressure is a little low. It's sitting at like 38. I need to crank that up a little bit. I didn't bring the tools for it, so I can't do that now. But I'm happy to see that everything's there, not leaking. Okay, so one small issue that I had was I unplugged my exhaust cutouts and plug-in for the power, which is laying on the ground. It looks like it's flattened one side of the connector. Not a huge deal. I can always splice it in, but that kind of sucks. Temperature sitting at 201, which, you know, that's normal. Car seems to be idling just fine. Like I said, the fuel pressure is a little low. The learn table is going nuts. Like it's trying to add 1.2 at idle and take out 20 at this area here. Okay, I'm a child. I got on it a little bit. It's breaking up. I have the wrong spark plugs in it. I have some pretty hot spark plugs because I was NA before, so that kind of makes sense. But it pulled fine. It sounded good. I can get on it a little bit here. Yeah, this feels good. Definitely out of gas though. Okay, gonna get home. I said I might do a burnout. We're probably gonna do a burnout. That didn't sound that great. Okay, so this is the last video about the startup, or the first drive, I should say. So I'm just sitting here idling, just making sure everything looks good. So I had a bit of a high idle, so I adjusted the butterfly down a bit. That seems to have fixed that. The IAC counts are under 10, but above 0, so that's great. AC is working, also amazing. controller and sitting at idle, even with the fans on and everything. We got plenty of voltage, so that's great. The one thing I have not tried, with all the things on, can I start the car? So let's see. It's also extremely loud with that new exhaust. Wow. So it's been sitting here heat soaking for at least 10-15 minutes before it would not start. That's amazing. Good stuff. Okay, this really is the end. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing.